Greetings and welcome to In Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. Before the 2024 edition of the First Citizens National Poetry Slam, we spoke with Youth and Hospitality Manager MARIELLE Forbes. The event has taken place and we get the opportunity to celebrate the champions, Shakira Burton, Alexandra, Stewart and Seth Sylvester in first, second and third place respectively. They join us to share more and give us further experiences. Thank you to the three of you for joining us and congratulations. I want to start with Your Highness, at least for the 2024 edition. Shakira, what was it like? What, in terms of going through it, looking at the fact that semifinals is different from the finals performance, what was it like for you?
This is actually, thank you, first of all. This is actually my second time entering the First Citizens National Poetry Slam. I was a first-time finalist this year, but this is my second time entering the competition, and the experience, just like my first, is amazing. The slam provides a platform for young people to use their voice, for us to have freedom of speech, and it's truly an amazing space to be in. And it's an honor to just even stand on the Grand Slam stage.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Sylvester, you won in 2016. How does what it is you're hearing from Ms. Burton tie into your experience and even your experience this year?
At that time, I was new to the space. I didn't know what was expected of me. And yeah, it was a learning experience. But after that, the slam itself is it's a space where there's a lot of acceptance of what you have to say, regardless of the fact that it may not be said in other spaces or in other genres or anything like that. So it was enlightening for me.
All right, and I don't want to call you the elder, so I'll call you the OG Miss Stewart in terms of winning 3 times. And what was it like? Because we hear space, we hear platform, and what is it like for you?
I feel like every year I feel so full of gratitude, really, when I take the slam stage. Knowing that so many people from all over the country and, in fact, internationally have come, either they're tuning in on TV, online, or sitting in the audience live to give poets that 4 minutes of uninterrupted attention, of listening ears, of focus, of energy. There's nothing quite like that feeling. And I think for a lot of poets, that is the first time that they have that experience in slam is the first time that they have that uninterrupted, I'm telling you how I feel about something so intensely. You have to listen. That's what you're here to do. And so it's definitely an extremely powerful experience for the poets, but no doubt too for the audience members, who I find very often are glad to have their own thoughts and feelings put into such poetic language, put into metaphor, put into simile. And you could tell from the audience reactions that they feel like they're on that stage saying the poem with you. So definitely a great experience.
Now, you're talking to me and my pause raising, and I guess this is almost after the fact, but with that in mind, though, in terms of like taking a common experience and bringing it up to the level of art, so that people can see the beauty in ugly, people can see, yes, this is what I'm feeling, but I never thought of it that way. I never thought to juxtapose it this way with this experience. How do you go about choosing your subject matter? So like this, I need to talk about this year, and we can round robin it. So we start with you, please, Mr. Sylvester.
That is an interesting thing, because I always try to look for the thing that people are saying but is not being said. The thing that people see in conversation, in posts, in jokes, in random just conversations. I just look for those things that you hear from people and try to bring it to life and give it that voice and give it that narration. There's this thing about topics. There are a lot of topics that are always addressed. And for me, as being someone who is in this thing about 8 years now, For me, it's about finding new topics to address, finding new topics to talk about, finding new topics to extensively address and flesh out the issues that people tend to look over or that the country tends to look over. So for me, I always want to find a new topic to address.
Thank you so much, Ms. Stewart. How do you find a theme? How do you choose?
Well, in truth, most times especially my finals pieces, just come from a burning desire to talk about something. I remember for the first time I won, the poem I had written and performed was called Starving Artist. And that theme of the treatment of artists, and it's a universal experience, but the treatment of artists in general, the derogatory way that art can sometimes be treated, the casual a sort of, oh, that's not a real job kind of vibe that you get, especially for beginning artists. It was a frustration that was welling inside of me because after entering spoken word poetry, I knew it was something I wanted to take seriously. I knew it was something that I wanted to be my career. And so it was a poem that just kind of exploded out of me on stage. I didn't think about where it sat in relation to other people's poems, where it sat in relation to themes, but I knew it was something that would resonate because I knew I'd be speaking to an audience of fellow artists or at least people who appreciate art. I will say though, having been in the slam for, well, this is my 10th year, I've seen and recognized exactly what Seth is saying, that there are some topics that are regularly addressed. And sometimes you could tell by the current events what might be touched on. And so I try to find something that maybe won't be spoken of or even address the same issue from a very different angle. That way the audience gets to experience a theme they're familiar with, but in a way they never have before.
Thank you so much, Ms. Burton. What informs your decision?
For me, it also piggybacks off of Alex's point of view. My burning desire to speak, but not just a burning desire to speak, but I also need to be very passionate about whatever I choose to speak about. And that's really important to me. If I am not one with my topic, if I am not one with my piece, if I don't believe what I'm saying, I cannot deliver it to an audience. So for me, I choose things that I'm passionate about. For some reason, I have somewhat become the voice of the voiceless, and that really informs what decision I make and what I choose to talk about. And it's important to me that I use big platforms like the Slam to talk about things that can create change for us as a nation. And those things are what I choose to talk about because for me, that is what is most important.
And with that, we take a short break. We are speaking with Shakira Burton, Alexandra C. Stewart, and Seth Sylvester. And we're calling this Emerging from the Dragon's Mouth because Enter the Dragon's Mouth was the name of the conversation. So if we kind of almost look at this almost like a kind of debriefing session, but we continue with it when we return after this short break. Stay with us. We come back with more. Welcome back. We are speaking with the winners row of the First Citizens National Poetry Slam, Shakira Burton, Alexandra C. Stewart, and Seth Sylvester. And the three of you would have said it differently, but one of the things I find interesting is almost as though I don't care what they're doing. This is what I need to do. So you talk about, I didn't really know what was expected. This was a burning desire. And this is and even looking at some of those correlations between what it is you're saying and some of the things that I've heard from Calypsonians from time to time, even like the year that Shadow won, and he sang "What's Wrong with Me?" Is it like what going on? So they just want me sing and dead, the starving artist kind of business. But looking at the platform though, what happens or where do you see yourself articulating this art outside of the competition for the rest of the year? And let me ask you that question, please, Ms. Burton.
For me, it's about spaces that has more young people. For me, my passion, my desire, my drive is for the young people. Whether it be youth advocacy, spaces that allow me to talk to young men, young women. Anyway, I have a listening ear, I will speak. anyway I get a listening ear, I will speak. And for me, I see myself in the traveling to different spaces to speak to young people about opportunities, education, inspiring them to chase whatever it is they dream about and allowing them to know that it is indeed attainable for them.
What about you, Miss Stewart?
I have two internal challenges. Like Shakira, youth are a group that I work with regularly. Whether it is in really helping them find their own voice in poetry, because I feel like everyone has access to that. They sometimes just don't know how to tap into it, but helping them be able to articulate their own thoughts and ideas and dreams so that they could speak for the things that they're passionate for, speak for the things that concern them. And so increasing the workshops is something I'm extremely passionate about this year, because I've had people sort of reach out to me like, you've been in this for a while, what's happening, what can we learn? And I do have workshops regularly, but just expanding that, as well as I have this personal belief that anything can be turned into poetry. So I like embracing the challenge of looking at different events, themed events, and finding a way to convert what people have come there to do into a poem that sets the scene and embodies the experience. So that's something that I'm also engaging with.
All right, and this reminds me, I'll be asking you about your pet projects, passion projects, and platforms so that people can get a little more idea. Because we were looking for you, Mr. Sylvester, and he's like, where this man, boy? So what happens during the rest of the year?
For me, I have been, for the past 2 years, I've been, on a hiatus. I've been studying and trying to balance that and spoken word. But this year, I have, for the past year up to now, I've been working on a lot of material, and it is going to be dropping within weeks. Um, and that is because I think a lot of times you go on a poetry stage, spoken word stage. First Citizens National Poetry Slam is the biggest stage for poetry in Trinidad. But what about the persons that hasn't attended the Citizens National Poetry Slam? How does the message reach them? And for me, there are old poems that I have performed that I have recreated into a different thing, whether it's calypso, whether it's music, whether it's Trinidad, whether it's whatever. I'm trying to recreate it and bring it across in a different way. So I have a lot of material that I am going to be dropping really soon, and it's just about figuring out what platforms I'm going to use to channel that energy and that message itself. But there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline. Um, to me, I don't want poems to die on the slam stage, and that's something that's been bothering me. You come, you attend First National Poetry Slam, you hear these poems, it impacts you on the night, the great atmosphere, and then you go back to your life as Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and that's about that. I want these poems to exist outside of the First National Poetry Slam, and for me, that is my goal on my bucket list right now.
Okay, and speaking about existing outside of the stage, I believe we are going to be sharing some of this rich material on TTT, where we live for local, on the 12th of May at 8 p.m., if I'm not mistaken. I see people nodding, so a little bit again, I pass from our collection plate. But what is it about this genre? So you just spoke of different channeling the energy in different ways, Mr. Sylvester. And I want to ask each of you, if you can quickly give me an idea, what is it about spoken word versus calypso, soca, Trinidad that just allows you to share what it is you want to? Start with you, thanks, Ms. Burton.
When people ask me how I became a spoken word artist, I always say I did not choose this platform. This platform chose me. It handpicked me and said, I want you. And that's how I ended up here. I was a natural speaker. And I realized, wow, I could take these words and twist it and turn it and form it and create something beautiful, something that has the power to change lives, something that has the power to impact young people. And so there's something about the genre of spoken word that is just so powerful. It's something that Calypso doesn't have, soca doesn't have, dancehall doesn't have, Trinidad, there's something about this genre, something about speaking power into people that this genre has that is just I'm not even able to articulate it.
In the beginning was the word. I'll ask you, please, Miss Stewart.
That's well said. I I think very deeply about this because I still enjoy music. And the one thing I used to lament was if I could sing like some of these singers we have in this country. Listen, you would not be hearing anything but my mouth. But I found with spoken word poetry that it does something that music doesn't do. Now, music has this staying power. It gets stuck in your head, you get lost in your words, you find yourself, moving to the rhythm just naturally. But poetry forces you to sit with yourself in a way that could be extremely uncomfortable. There's no rhythm to distract, there's no beat, there's no melody to take you away from my words. You have nothing but to sit and experience what I'm experiencing. And I think there's something powerful about a live audience, about the way their responses, because I always say this, that a spoken word performance is really a duet, because their responses to me just completes the poem. And that's why spoken word poetry is not page poetry. I mean, you could read it, sure, you could print it and take it off the page. But when you're experiencing that live, it's different. It's different. Hearing the audience go, yes. And knowing that they are having their thoughts and feelings put into words is it's huge and an honor to be able to use my gift in a way that really satisfies people's inner yearning to be heard. And sometimes even, and to speak to what you said about how the poems do sort of live on in a way when they're posted, when they're broadcast, I think that's something that I really admire that the First Citizens National Poetry Slam, as well as working with y'all, TTT, has made possible, because in the earlier days, if you got to see the video for your poem posting, you were feeling blessed because not every video made it online. And now seeing poems like Shakira's from Semis go viral on TikTok, you know that the poems are reaching, they're going far. And I think I'm looking forward to seeing poets posting their performances and people connecting to them.
And talking about posting and looking at the time, and don't vex with me, Mr. Stewart, but you'd give a long answer just before. So in terms of platforms, handles, how do people reach out to you, see your work, interact with you? I'll start with you, please, Mr. Sylvester. Give me that information, thanks.
Well, as I said before, I took a break from social media, but I will be getting back on social media this week because I have a lot of stuff to drop. So that will find itself. I believe the message will find itself to everyone that it needs to find itself when I do get back on social media. So I'm trusting and believing that.
A man say just Google him, yes? But talking about you, please, Miss Burton, how do we get on to you? How do we interact? What are the handles, platforms?
For me, my Instagram is my main social media platform at the moment. So if you want to reach me, my Instagram would be the most immediate source of contact at the moment. So it will be Shakira _the_ poet on Instagram.
All right, thank you so much, and Ms. Stewart.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Talk to the Fro. So that's TalkTothefro. You'll find poems, you'll find behind the scenes vlogs. I'm supposed to be joining TikTok soon, but you could also go on National Poetry Slam TT to see all the amazing performances.
All right, well, we want to thank you very much, Shakira Burton, Alexandra C. Stewart, and Seth Sylvester. We also want to thank the First Citizens National Poetry Slam for bringing you to our ears and our attention. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, I'm Dike Rostant. This has been In Depth with me. Thank you so much for joining us.
Is the only man not on social media, right?
Thank you once more. And like we said, it'll be on Friday evening. Please God, I will send the link the same way that I sent the Zoom link to MARIELLE, Forbes, and Alette.